All right, we are live. Hi, everyone on Facebook, and thank you for tuning in to this month's Wager Warrior. We have a special topic, aftercare. So I have two special guests with me tonight. I have Danielle from Turning From Home and Winnie from New Vocations. I'm excited to have you guys on here and talk a little bit about your programs.
Hi. Thank you,
Hi.
Dawn.
So for anyone watching tonight, we're going to play a little bit of trivia later in the live. So make sure you're paying attention. We'll ask you a trivia question, and whoever answers the question first will win some PHRA swag. So make sure you're paying attention. We'll kind of ask it halfway through. So follow along with tonight's Wager Warriors live. Winnie, I'm going to kick it off with you. Will you tell us a little bit about New Vocations and kind of how it got started?
Sure. So my name is Winnie Morgan Nemeth. I'm the Standardbred Program Director for New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program. We were founded in 1992. My mom, Dot Morgan, is the Executive Director and founder of the program. And back in those days, there were not really anybody doing any type of aftercare or racehorse adoption of any sort. And she saw a need as the wife of a harness horse trainer. She saw what was going on with the horses and also connected with some thoroughbred trainers in Ohio and started, networking, trying to find these horses homes. And it really took off into something very, very special. She never imagined it would be what it is today. But what New Vocations does, we're the largest racehorse adoption program in the country. We place retired standardbreds and thoroughbreds that are coming off the track, transition them, rehab them if necessary, and then place them into new homes. And since 1992, we have placed over 8,500 horses. And we have locations now we have 8 locations throughout the United States with our home base, which is a thoroughbred farm in Lexington, Kentucky. And we have standardbred farms in Ohio, New York, those 2 places right now.
Awesome. And Danielle, will you tell us a little bit about Turning for Home?
Sure. Hi, I'm Danielle Montgomery. I've been the program administrator for Turning for Home for the last 10 years. And Turning for Home has been around, this is our 15th year. And we've helped horses from strictly parks racing. We are approaching 3,900 horses we should hit by the end of the year that we've assisted into safe care. And we're long behind New Vacations, but I think that program and the TRF kind of influenced our program. And then our executive director at the time kind of saw the need that there was a big article on the front of the New York Times with a horse. It wasn't even a thoroughbred, it was a quarter horse racehorse, but a big article saying, horses should slaughter. And he saw the public outcry because, people see horse racing and they don't really see the side of it that we might see on the inside, all the care that these thoroughbreds and standardbreds get. But we know we love our horses and we don't want it said that, we just throw them away and they go to slaughter. So our mission at Turning for Home is to stop that. And I think we've effectively done that over the last 15 years, is stop our horses from going, to slaughter. And other racetracks around the country, thoroughbred racetracks, have emulated our program, where we take each horse, we assess them at the racetrack. We send them to our partner farms with a stipend for each horse to make sure, and we follow each horse to make sure that they get that proper rehabilitation, retraining, and rehoming. And so that's what our program is about. We have 19, maybe it fluctuates between 18 and 20 farms up and down most of the East Coast. It's easier for shipping. But our horses, the same thing, strict adoption policies. We follow each horse. Any horse that's adopted through our program can come to any of our partner farms at any time. So we pretty much give the owners and trainers no reason that their horses should ever end up in bad hands. And then we do everything we can to make sure that horse is suitable for a second career. And then we follow them that way and make sure there's no excuse ever for them to end up in harm's way, because we're always there as kind of like their umbrella to take care of them and bring them back.
Yeah, Danielle, you touched on it a little bit, but Winnie, can you kind of tell us for New Vocations, how do you take horses? Is there certain criteria they have to reach, or do people just approach you and you take the horses and that's how it goes?
Yeah, so basically we are approached by either owners or trainers that have horses that have been currently racing or are retiring off the racetrack. And so they reach out to myself or Anna Ford on the thoroughbred side. So we're just strictly getting horses that are coming right off the racetrack versus maybe some that have been retired for years or retired brood mares or things like that. Although we do have a small retired broodmare program for our standardbreds that we just got a nice grant last year through the ASPCA, and that just focuses on retired broodmares. So it's kind of a new thing for us. We've placed 15 mares already in the past 15 months. So pretty interesting and a little bit different for us, but we strictly are taking horses from donors right from the track.
Oh, nice. I like that program. That's exciting to hear. Danielle, how does it work for you guys at parks?
The same, we're taking our horses. All of our horses have to be either racing at parks currently. If they're with a trainer that's at parks for 6 months of the year, his horses in training are automatically eligible, or if they've run their last race at parks. I think all the racetracks kind of take care of the horses that finish their career there. So our horses might have started in California or Gulfstream or New York, whatever. But if they end up at parks, we take care of them. And like I said, we help about 300 horses a year. And we support the Retired Racehorse Project, which they started that broodmare program too. And, so most of our horses are directly from the track, but we take back any of our horses that have been previously adopted. And we pretty much have never turned a horse away that's eligible, which is really important because a lot of the tracks don't have the funding that we have. A lot of the smaller tracks don't even have really adequate programs to be able to take care of these horses because the big, sound, healthy horses, right? Most of them are bought directly off the track. On our back stretch, it's all horsemen and they all know somebody. So, there's people on the back stretch that are, looking for the big sound horses. So those horses, the breeding stock horses, your stake horses, they're going to go to the breeding barn or they have farms that are going to take them back. But I think the horses that are at risk are the horses that are injured, the horses that might not be top quality. So those are the horses that we're the network for, that we make sure that they all find good homes. And we feel really strongly that every horse deserves that opportunity. So we're lucky that our owners at parks feel that way. So that's where our funding comes from, is every owner, when he runs a horse, he gives a stipend towards turning for home. That's it ends up being like a retirement plan for our horses. So we provide veterinary care that's crucial. If they break down during a race, we can be right there. We're right at the track. The vets call us and they say, hey, this horse, maybe they just claimed that horse, or maybe that horse, they just don't have the funding to take that horse and do the surgery themselves. Some do, but some don't. We're there for the ones that don't have that chance. So there's no horses that fall through the cracks anymore. We pick up all those horses that don't have another place to go.
All right. So now you get the horse. What happens in the retraining end of things? So how long do you have a horse before you're like, this horse is adoptable? We're going to post it online and find this horse a home. So if Winnie, you want to kick off that question.
Sure. So I'm just going to speak from the standardbred side because I'm going to be most familiar on that part for what my horses are. But when a horse comes in, we evaluate them right away to see, and I'll know too from talking with the owner trainer, if there's any injuries, why is that horse retiring? We always have their last start. We take horses from around 40 different racetracks across the United States. So we can always pull up all of those records and see what was going on. So we really just evaluate them and see what we think that horse is going to be good for. But again, if they need any type of rehab, which in the market that we have right now with our standardbreds, they're usually rehabbing with us for about maybe 30 to 60 days. And then we can go ahead and transitioning them to be riding horses under saddle. Because they are harness horses and majority of them have raced with a race bike. They're not used to a rider. That takes a little bit of time as well. But on average, our horses do get adopted around that 8 to 12 week time. Typically, again, it just depends on if they're coming off an injury or not. Some are quicker, some are longer. But we just start them under saddle slowly, let the horse kind of tell us where they are. Some of them come in and they really do need to just learn to be a horse and go out with one other horse because they haven't been. So they learn what it means to drink out of a water trough and what it means to have a friend next to you and kind of be a normal horse, what a fly is when somebody's not there to take care of you in the paddock or or the barn. So just kind of basic horse etiquette stuff. And sometimes that might take 3 or 4 months for them to figure that out. But we want them to be able to handle life away from the track. And like Danielle said, our horses at the track are very well taken care of. I mean, they've had every one of their needs met. And yes, they're athletes, they're top athletes. They've been taken care of by top veterinarians and cared for. My standardbreds, most of them, are over 10 years of age when they retire because they can race once a week. So, they've had some tremendous care and people working for them all the time. And then they kind of come and go in a field and they're like, I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. But that's kind of New Vocations' big push, is to give them a job. And they've always had a job. It's just a different job. So they're moving into that second career and learning what life is like away from the track. And, I find I educate a lot to people, and that, you don't want to just turn them out and like say, run free and be a horse, because our horses are not, they don't even know what that is. They're like, when are you bringing me my grain? Where's my hay? Where's my fan? I don't know if I like it here with all these friends. So, a lot of that transition program is just kind of learning how they're going to be in their new home and what most horses have to live like. And, on top of learning to be a riding horse and go around an arena, or learn to go outside and follow a trail or go walk down the road. And of course, majority of them are great to drive. And we do have a lot of people that enjoy driving them. And that's something they know very well. That language they speak very well.
Danielle, what about for you? So, I mean, thoroughbreds are already broke to ride. What's the transition like for them?
It's the same thing. It's like when he said, they have had all their needs met, and then you just can't take them and throw them out because they are athletes. And I think a lot of people think, oh, these horses are retiring, and we use that word, we use that term, they are retiring from racing, but they don't want to do nothing. These are, intuitive, athletic, just smart animals, and they're used to a job. They're used to training every day. It's not like maybe your quarter horse. I grew up in the quarter horse world. They send that horse out for 90 days of training, and that comes home, and you might ride it 4 days a week. And that horse is kind of used to, okay, we might go to a game show on a Wednesday, once a week. Not these guys. These guys are used to a job, and they want a job. So I think that's what's really important about the organizations that we have, New Vocations, Turning for Home, and all the aftercare organizations, is that we are transitioning these horses for whatever needs they need, whether it's just to decompress, but also to put them right into work. Whereas we and our partner farms understand them. We can see their language, and we can deal with all the crazy things that happen. So it's really hard to go right to the racetrack and just buy a horse. There are people that do this all the time, and that's what they do, and that's their profession, and they can read it. But for the average rider, I don't care if you've been riding for 20 years and that's all you do is ride, for you to walk through the barns on the back stretch of a racetrack and think you're going to get lucky the first time and buy the perfect horse, it's almost impossible. And then if you don't have a place for that horse to go after you've brought it home and realized he's running the fence and he's too much for you, you don't have a place to bring him back. So by going to one of the organizations that do this, if the horse doesn't work out, you bring it back, and you get a chance to go and see that horse 3-4 months after it's left the track and it's already started its second career. And the professionals that are bringing that horse, rehabbing him, checking him out, seeing what herd he belongs to, all the things that we just discussed, they can better match you up to the horses right for you. So if you come there and you're a rider or a trainer, you want to, put the horse into different disciplines, our professionals can tell you what discipline that horse has an aptitude for, what he's like in the pecking order. So it's a whole lot better to go to the farms and see these horses, not when they're racing fit just off their last race in the stall at the racetrack. They're a totally different animal than after they've gone to the farms and they've been let down and somebody's gotten on them and seen what their disposition is. And then you're in a much better place to be able to pick the right horse, which as an adopter is going to save you a lot of time, trouble, money. You get a chance to vet that horse, try that horse. So it's really important that, and I think it really protects the horses, what our organizations do, just from that point of being the liaison between the future home and the past home. So that's kind of what we all do.
Yep, definitely. It's very important to have aftercare programs in Pennsylvania, and obviously New Vocations is everywhere. That these are important programs to have, and we're happy to have them. Before I go on, I do want to remind all our viewers that if you have any questions for Danielle or Winnie during the live, you can comment and we will ask your questions during the live. So feel free to submit any questions in the comments. And I'm going to ask our trivia question. So whoever is the first to answer this correctly will win some PHRA swag. So our trivia question for tonight is to name the richest standardbred or richest racehorse. Well, we're going to go standardbred. Richest standardbred. And I'll give you a little hint. He retired with a little over 7 million made. So if you name that standardbred in the comments below, you will win some PHRA swag. I'm sure, Winnie, you know who it is.
Special horse, very, very special horse.
Was there a Briar horse made after him?
Yep, there sure
There's
was. I got to go to Briar Fest with him and his trainer. It was a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, just to see the crowds of people wanting to meet him.
He's
That's
such
fantastic.
he could care less that he made over $7 million. He's just hanging out.
Yes, he is. He sure is. And I've had a couple of his barn mates too, so.
All right. So going back to our aftercare talk. Now we talked about the transition. Now, as they're in your programs, how do people adopt? So if I want to adopt a horse, how do I do this? So Danielle, I can start with you.
So at Turning for Home, we don't post our horses until they're actually ready to be adopted. It saves a lot of time and trouble on our farms from fielding, a million comments. So once our horses become adoptable, each partner farm will put those horses up. So the easiest way is if you know your local partner farm, we encourage people to apply early. We find out, where you live and what you're looking for. And a lot of our partner farms have different specialties. So for example, I have a venting barn in Aiken. Not that any of our farms can't, be a source for eventing horses. It's most popular after, second career for the thoroughbreds. But, we have our farm in Full Gout Farm in Aiken, and that's pretty much their specialty is eventing horses. So if you send in an application Turning for Home, we would go through that and we would kind of like let them know, we'll put you in contact with Full Gallop because they'll probably have a horse for you. If you're in, Northeast, we have farms in near Saratoga and in New Hampshire. So if you're looking for, 100 jumpers up there, we'll put you in contact, give them your application, and they'll let you know when they have something, either they have something right now that'll fit your criteria, or they'll let you know when something is coming up. So basically that's we kind of do it on a one-to-one basis. We'd like you to come out, try the horse, see if it works for you. There are some internet adoptions and stuff like that. Some of our farms have big networks of, they're almost like secondary farms. We have a lot of trainers, professional trainers that are in constant contact with our farms, and they'll let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. If you have something like this come through, send it. So then it might go to another trainer that might so say if our first farm rehabs the horse, sees what its potential is, they might have a couple trainers, waiting in the wings for those horses. So then you might adopt from one of those secondary farms that, might put a year into that horse, doing the 100 jumpers or doing dressage or doing the Western events, whatever it is. So the easiest way to adopt from us is that you go to turningforhome.org, fill out the application, send it in. Somebody will give you a call. They'll put you in contact with one of the partner farms that's close to you that might have horses that fit your criteria. And then they go from there because they move quickly.
That's actually a good thing that they move quickly. People love to adopt their horses. That's good. Mm-hmm. Winnie, what about if I want to adopt from New Vocations, if I'm looking for a standardbred?
So yes, if you're wanting to adopt from New Vocations, we have an application that is on our website, which is newvocations.org. That is the first step. And when you get to our website, it says how to adopt, and you can kind of see that. So on the application, you fill out your horse experience. If you have a trainer, give us your veterinarian's information, your boarding farms facility or your personal farms facility, kind of what you're looking for in a horse, a lot of your experience, your farrier, and then 2 equine references. We do not adopt to first-time horse owners. We just feel that our horses are pretty green coming off the track, and they've always been in professional care. So if this is your first horse, we would turn you away and recommend, go get some experience, with another breed of horse. But that is one big thing that, some people sometimes can have a hard time with it, but really it's for the horse's best interest and the person's best interest. So once that application has been approved, it's good for 2 years. So that gives you time to kind of keep an eye out on our website. So we post our available horses on our website and on our social media, which is New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program on Instagram and Facebook. We have pictures, kind of list all the information on the horse. as well as videos. Our horses do get adopted quickly, like Danielle said. And we do receive about over 1,500 applications a year for horses. That's both standardbreds and thoroughbreds. But it just, we try to be as open and honest about the horses as possible. And we really do try. Our trainers work really hard and do a great job of trying to match that application, which is why we need that. What do you want with the horse that we have? Whether it be you want to go show, you want to drive, you want a trail horse, you want a companion horse, how we are evaluating them, we can best make that match for the adoption.
Anyone that's watching, will link the websites for both of your organizations in our comments. So if anyone wants to learn more information and didn't catch the websites, we'll put them in our comments. You can still ask questions. And we did have a winner. So the richest standardbred of all time is foaled again. And Rachel commented first that it was foaled again. So you are our lucky PHRA swag winner. So if you message us your address, we will get your prize to you in the mail. So thank you for playing our trivia today. Sorry, now back to our live. Let's talk success stories. So, you guys have both said it's a success itself, all these horses that are adopted every year and on to their second career. Is there a horse that's maybe stood out over the years for each of you that was probably one of your favorites that you crossed paths with? Danielle, you're smiling, so go ahead.
They're all my favorite. I'm so lucky that my job's at the track and I get to meet each one of them. So they all have their own story. And it is really cool when you look back and you see a horse 8 years later and it's still doing something amazing. There's fun ones. The most recent one, we were able to retire Stonegate. And I think it's a really great story of how the breeders follow these horses. And some of these horses already have a home waiting. So just seeing how follows her horses, and Stonegate was like her horse that kind of started her breeding program. And she has an absolutely wonderful post out there about Stonegate's whole story, how it came full circle. And so he got to go home, and his owner is Mike Mellon, Brand Jam Stable, and David Clark and Lou Linder. And they're actually the owner that's given us the most horses over the years. We did a little tally up for our last awards banquet, and they've given us the most horses, and they retire them respectfully when the horses need to be. They don't drill them into the ground. And that's the way Stonegate retired. He retired, with all of his integrity, and he got to go right home, and he's turned out with his half brother, his mom. He's a baby there. So he's right back at Whisper Wind Farms in Pennsylvania. So those stories are always fun. We didn't really do a whole lot except for put the people together, which is basically what our job is just, putting these horses back with their people. And then some of the horses, we might have horses 4 or 5 years. I've had horses that, we couldn't find homes for. When you see them get moved around a few too many times, they go to an adopter, then they come back, then they go to another adopter, and then they come back. And then we might switch up the farms, and another farm might try in a different area, in a different discipline. Maybe they'll go trail ride somewhere, and they come back, a couple of times. It's like, we might step in, or we're not that we're stepping in, but we might just be there and say, hey, let's check out this horse. So there's been horses that have come to my personal farm that we've had, and my daughters and I have worked with for 4 or 5 years, and we might find them a therapy home, or we just find that magical right person for them. So there's so many of them. I can't think of just one, but it's always fun when you just see those the really needy horses when they get the right person. It's pretty magical. I've had people buy farms for their horse, so it's kind of cool.
You mentioned Whisper Wind Farms. Fun fact, that's actually where we did our full cams this year. So that was one of our farms.
Justine, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she was great. We had a good time. Winnie, what is your favorite success story?
Goodness, I've been placing standardbred since 2004. So it's really hard for me to list like who would be my favorite. I was kind of pulling up some Pennsylvania statistics. So when I knew I was coming on here, and when I got into the side of who the donors were, I think it was around 2010. Boy, did Russell Williams' name keep coming up over and over and over because of Hanover Shoe Farms, and they have been incredibly supportive of New Vocations since the beginning. But I kind of pulled up a number just to kind of see, and we've placed well over 250 horses that their last start was in Pennsylvania. And from Hanover Shoe Farms, it had been well over 50. Goodness, it's probably 350 total, but for Pennsylvania horses. So anyways, Pennsylvania's been very supportive and the aftercare movement for standardbreds. And certainly Russell Williams is now the president of the USTA and very instrumental in starting the Standardbred Transition Alliance. So, I think through his years of sending his horses to new vocations and seeing the success that the horses have gone on through other people, it's just been very, very beneficial. But one horse that stands out to me most recently that I can talk about was a horse that we took last year to Equine Affair, and his name was Wind of the North. He was a trotter, raced a lot in Pennsylvania with the Mercury stable, and Aaron Merriman was his driver for many, many years. And when Windy retired, it was January of last year, he was not happy about the situation, I can tell you. He came in with this really cool winter haircut that was like a castle. He kind of had that King, Your Highness story about him, and he was a millionaire. He earned over $1 million. So we decided to take him to Equine Affair, and he was equally as grumpy about all the people coming in and out. And I always laugh when I was placing horses for my own farm. I'd have a talk with them like, listen, these people are coming to see you. I want you to put your happy face on. You put your head out. You let the kid pet you. Like, it's going to be a great life. You're going to love it. And so I was talking to him, and all of a sudden it was like, I don't know what happened, but he became personable. Bridget, our trainer, rode him for a couple of demos. He was fantastic. We did a thank you to Pompano Park, him and myself, to thank them for raising some money that they had done for us. And he is now got adopted as a dressage horse, and he lives in Florida, and he's very happy and the most personable horse at the stable. They're like, everybody, pets Windy when they come in. He greets everybody, which was so he was very stoic, professional. What do you want me to do? And it's so cool to see him come out of that. And I was just honored to place him. He's a great, great horse.
Yeah, he was raced at the meadow, so I was lucky to see him a lot, but he was a great horse. And actually, we're selling mini ponies. They're like these stuffed ponies that we're taking to events. So both of you had sent me over horses to put on our little symbolic retired racehorse cards. So Wind of the North is actually one of our horses that we're selling. So if you're ever at a PHRA event, come get one of our ponies. They're $25, and then all the proceeds are going to Aftercare. So what we sell all goes to Aftercare. So that's why we made these little retired ponies. And so far we've been to 2 events, and they're a huge hit. Kids love them. We actually had D.W. Yanks, one of his owners, saw it and was like, oh, I have to buy this. I own this horse. And I was like, yes, you do, because it's for Aftercare.
It's a great idea. I love that you're doing that. It's going to be huge.
We're really excited about it. So they've been really great so far. So anyone that's watching, make sure you come and get one of these ponies from us. On to the next question. How is, you kind of talked about the Standardbred Transition Alliance. Winnie, how is New Vocations funded, and how do you do donations too? How do people donate?
So a couple of different ways. We are a 501c3 charity. We are accredited by the Standardbred Transition Alliance and the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. And what that means is they've kind of vetted us in transparency, and that they see our horses coming in, where they've gone, where they've come from. They go through your books, they visit your farms, all that kind of thing. But because of that, we get grants from those organizations. And most of those grants are based on the amount of horses and the number that we are placing. So one of the ways we get funding is through grants, whether it be from those organizations or the ASPCA. We get grants through those, and other types of horse racing, equine welfare. So grants is one big one. We also do from donations, whether that be personal donations, or if somebody sends a donation with our horse, that also helps. We don't require them to come in, but again, horses are not free to take care of, and at our facilities, we're paying a day rate and a training fee for those horses. So it's always nice to get a donation with the horse. The other way, we do fundraisers throughout the year. We have a horse show. In the past, we used to partner with Little Brown Jug, and we would do a very large auction every year at the Little Brown Jug. But different fundraisers like that. This year, we're really honored to be part of the Breeders' Crown Charity Challenge. We're one of 4 charities, so super excited to be involved with that. We've done a Breeders' Crown Pledge in the past, which Burke Racing has been so supportive of that over the years. But so it's through events like that that also bring in a lot of donations back to us.
Danielle, what about you guys? I know you talked a little bit about each park's trainer and things like that.
Yeah, when we started, when they redid our racing and slots came to Pennsylvania, there was a reallocation of funding so that some of the slot money came to us. So our leadership saw that as an opportunity to like get trainer pensions so that our horsemen are taken care of at Parks Racing. They have fantastic benefits now, and then they gave that benefit to the retired racehorses too. So we, from the slot money, they give a portion of their day per start fee, sorry, and it's increased over the years. It started at 10, then it went to 20, then it went to 100. So we get that money per start. The jockey club, the jockeys at Parks, sorry, the Parks Jockey Colony was the first in the country to support Aftercare. So they give $20 with each win and $10 for each second place. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that's, that comes out to like $1,500 a month. That might pay for a surgery. It might pay, for something. So basically our jockeys are saving a horse every month with their donations. But the biggest come from the owners. The Parks Management gives $50,000 a year towards our program, and they help sponsor our Turning for Home Day, which is our big day to raise awareness. That is actually going to be on Labor Day this year. I'll give a plug for that. Labor Day at Parks, come out, support Turning for Home. We have a good day. We just raise awareness. We tell a little bit of our stories. That's where we showcase our success stories, things like that. But we have a big connection with our Pennsylvania breeders. They're very supportive. We're getting ready to do a raffle for them on PA Breeders Day at Parks. That's August 21st, right when we come back from our break. We have a break where they fix our track and stuff, and then we'll come back and we're going to raffle off a 0-turn tractor. So part of that will come to Aftercare. And we get donations sometimes with the horses that come through. A lot of our owners will pay for their own surgeries and things like that before they come for rehab. We have great owners, and I think Pennsylvania, we can be really proud of the entire state for leading the way in Aftercare. I mean, just very generous. I think they realize they love their horses and they realize how important Aftercare is. So funding's been very supportive for our program. And I think just like New Vocations, we take a great pride in following up with our horses. Our trainers were right at the track level. So if they have a problem with the horse, we're there in a minute to work with their veterinarians and make sure that horse gets, the proper rehab. And also they come in my office all day long and they'll say, hey, whatever happened to this horse or this horse? And they can come right in and, we have everything on a file. I can just bring up the pictures of the horse. We do a 6-month follow-up with every horse that's adopted. At that time we kind of check in. That's usually the crucial time. That first 6 months is when an adopter will know if they're going to keep that horse or not, if it's suiting their program. So if we call them and they say, yeah, no, we're keeping is great. Then, we'll get an update. We'll file that. We'll send them out their full papers, which is a great way for the identification of the horse to follow the horse. So we do a program where we send all of the full papers into the jockey club and they stamp them retired from racing. So the horse can't ever race again. We don't have to worry about that. And then we make sure that those papers go to the adopters and we do that follow up. And at that time, sometimes the adopters will send donations in. We kind of talk to them about our programs, and they can always go to turningforhome.org and send a donation if they want to. We get a lot of memorial donations. We get a lot of owners that will donate when they win a race. I think the important thing is we try to keep costs down. We don't pay like a training fee forever for the horses. Our partner farms are amazing horse people that are in it for the right reasons for the horses. So we'll send out a stipend for the horse to help them for the first, few months of transition. Usually like 3 or 4 months is where the horses are at the farm. We'll pay for any, vet care and stuff, but mostly the adoption fees that come back to those farms is what supports our horses. So we always tell the adopters, when you adopt one horse, you're actually helping make a stall for another horse that can take that stall. And those adoption fees help the partner farms keep it going because, they're the ones in the nitty gritty of it doing all the hard work. So we try to, 80% of our donations go right to those partner farms.
And again, for anyone that's watching, we will have the websites linked in our comments. So if you decide you want to donate, you can head over to their websites and donate. And Danielle talked about a few events. We'll have those on our events calendar as well. So anything at Parks, you can check out our event page. It's penhorseracing.com/events. So we'll link that in the comments as well so that you can stay up with the events. Now, the last thing I want to touch on before I let you two ladies go is the show system. So maybe someone's looking to adopt a horse and they're like, well, I don't know what I want. Maybe I just want a quarter horse, standardbred, thoroughbred. We actually have great programs on each side for showcase points pretty much. So Winnie, will you talk a little bit about the standardbred initiative program?
Sure. So if anybody's interested and they're wanting to do more with their standardbred, like show it in any different discipline, there's a lot of different ways you can show and participate, but you can go, it's through the United States Trotting Horse Association, so ustrotting.com, and it's in their Life After Racing, but it's their standardbred incentive program. And what they do is if you go to a horse show, an event, a fox hunt, driving, anything endurance, you can monitor like how you did, how many hours and that type of thing. And then they do give year-end awards. So they incentivize you for adopting a standardbred and then doing something with that horse. Like I said, from racing to eventing to fox hunting, like there's a lot of, in driving, there's a lot of different ways you can get points and then you can win really nice year-end award.
Danielle, what about for the thoroughbred side?
On the thoroughbred side, the biggest one that's been around for the last 8 years or so is the TIP program, which is the Thoroughbred Incentive Program. It's sponsored by the Jockey Club, so they get the industry-wide funding, and they get money every time a horse is registered, or they get a percentage of money from sales, and so that money goes into the TIP program, and that's a free thing. So all you have to do is, if you have a thoroughbred, you go on the Jockey Club website, you look for the TIP program. It's just T period, I period, P period, and you just register your horse. So each horse and rider combination gets a number. And as you're showing, you can go to TIP shows and they'll record the numbers for you, or you can also self-report. And I saw they're doing their finals for last year. I've seen a lot of awards going out over the socials for endurance riding, just for recreational trail riding. You can log your miles and self-report, and they'll send you ribbons. And last year they had jackets and great things. They also have the championships. The one is at the New Vocation show. They also have the last few years, they've combined with the Retired Racehorse Project. I think this might be the 3rd year for it, where the Western Championship is at the Retired Racehorse Project in Kentucky in October, and the English one is in South Carolina. And the RP, combines two. That's more of a makeover, but it's also a great incentive thing for trainers that want to bring young racehorses along for their first year of training. So there's the TIP program, which is great for everybody, and you can come every year and you can perpetually show. There's the Retired Racehorse Makeover, which has been fantastic for us because it pushes adoptions right off the racetrack. So that's been a great program that we support. We've always supported the Take Two program. That's a New York-based program, but they were the first to give extra prizes to the hunter jumpers. Locally, Turning for Home, we support some of the 4-H programs. This year, we're supporting the Montgomery County Fair in Pennsylvania, the Gloucester County Fair in New Jersey, and we've sponsored a couple of the different 4-H clubs and tried to push, not push, but a lot of our partner farms will have horses leased, to the 4-H kids and to the kids so that they can ride. A lot of our farms have multiple programs for the horses, so they're lesson programs and things like that. So if they're putting on like a local show, we'll throw in some prizes and stuff like that to make it fun for them. But there's a lot of big programs that go out there between, like I said, Take Two, TIP, the RP, New Vocation shows. It's always fun to have a thoroughbred and have things for them to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of incentives to having a standardbred or a thoroughbred. And I can tell you they're both very versatile. I have a retired thoroughbred. I have a retired standardbred. I love them both. My standardbred's a little bit more my favorite, but that's because I've had him forever. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. For anyone wanting more information or thinking about adopting a horse, please check out Turning for Home or New Vocations. Everything will be in our comments, and that's it for tonight. So thank you guys very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
You too.
Good night.